Join our family of creators. Your support means the world to us. Subscribe now to the Content Creator channel. Your support keeps us motivated and helps us bring you fresh, exciting content every week. Hit that subscribe button and be part of our journey. You need to hear this if you're a global economics enthusiast. Welcome to our deep dive into the new currency for BRICS and why it's struggling to gain traction. The idea of a BRICS currency, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, is, on the surface, quite compelling. A new monetary power to challenge the almighty US dollar. It sounds like the plot of a slightly dry but nonetheless ambitious geopolitical thriller. But here's the rub. This currency is currently less of a currency and more of a persistent talking point. It's the financial equivalent of that friend who's always about to start a band. Lots of enthusiasm, some cool theoretical song titles, but no actual music yet. We'll explore the economic, political, and structural challenges that have kept this ambitious idea from becoming a reality. Think of it as an autopsy of an idea that's not quite dead, but definitely not sprinting a marathon anytime soon. Let's get into it. So, the initial concept of a BRICS currency. It all started with a perfectly reasonable desire to reduce reliance on the US dollar, to create a multipolar financial world. The vision was grand, a shared currency for these emerging giants, facilitating trade, boosting investment. The problem is that grand visions tend to get fuzzy around the edges when you try to nail down the specifics. There have been numerous summits, declarations, and communiques, all affirming the desire for such a currency. But concrete steps, a detailed roadmap, those have been conspicuously absent. The discussions have been ongoing. There's no clear consensus on what this currency would be backed by. Gold? A basket of their own currencies? Who knows? The lack of a clear how has led to a situation where the BRICS currency is more of a recurring headline than a tangible project. Ultimately, this initial phase has been characterized by a lot of aspirational talk and very little in the way of concrete action. And right now, BRICS seems to be stuck at the wouldn't a big space laser be cool stage of planning. Now let's talk about the economic and structural hurdles. Imagine trying to get 5 people who've only ever driven completely different types of vehicles to agree on the design for a single shared car. That's kind of what we're looking at with aligning monetary, fiscal, and regulatory policies among BRICS members. First up, monetary policy. Each BRICS nation has its own central bank, its own inflation targets, its own interest rate policies. For a common currency to work, you need a common monetary policy. Then there's fiscal policy, how governments spend money and collect taxes. If you have a common currency, the fiscal irresponsibility of one member can drag everyone else down. And regulatory policies? Financial regulations, banking standards, capital controls, these are wildly different across the BRICS nations. Harmonizing these would be like trying to translate Shakespeare into 5 different alien languages simultaneously. The sheer depth of alignment needed is staggering. It's about fundamentally intertwining the core economic machinery of these nations. Alright, let's talk about money. Specifically, the colossal piles of it you need to back a credible international currency. The US dollar isn't just popular because it has a picture of a stern-looking president on it, it's underpinned by the sheer size and depth of the US economy, and critically, by vast, liquid financial markets. Now BRICS nations, particularly China, do hold significant foreign exchange reserves. But even collectively, do they have enough readily available, universally accepted assets to back a new currency in a way that inspires global confidence on the scale of the dollar? That's a much tougher question. Financial depth isn't just about central bank reserves. It's about the breadth and sophistication of domestic financial markets within the BRICS countries themselves. Building these deep, liquid markets takes decades. It requires robust legal frameworks, transparent accounting standards, protection for investors, and a history of stability. There's also the crucial element of trust. For a currency to be widely adopted internationally, global investors and central banks need to have unwavering faith in its stability and the institutions behind it. Now, even if BRICS could magically solve all the economic and structural issues, there's another elephant in the room: geopolitical fragmentation. The idea that these 5 nations are a cozy, unified bloc is a public relations fantasy. In reality, BRICS is less a band of brothers, and more like a group of very powerful, often wary, and occasionally outright hostile neighbors. Strategic competition exists within BRICS. The most glaring example is the relationship between India and China. These are two nuclear-armed giants with a disputed border and fundamentally different visions for Asia and the world. Then there are the differing priorities. Russia might see a BRICS currency as a tool to circumvent Western sanctions. China might view it as a vehicle to promote the internationalization of the yuan. These aren't minor disagreements. These are fundamental differences in national interest and strategic outlook. Alright, let's address the enormous star-spangled elephant in every single global financial room, the US dollar. The dollar's dominance isn't accidental. It's built on decades of deep entrenchment in the global financial system. Over 80% of global trade is invoiced in US dollars. The vast majority of foreign exchange reserves held by central banks around the world are in dollars. Most major commodities like oil and gold are priced in dollars. This creates a powerful network effect. Everyone uses the dollar because everyone else uses the dollar. Businesses prefer to trade in dollars because it's liquid, easily convertible, and their suppliers and customers are also likely using dollars. Then there's the unparalleled depth and liquidity of US financial markets. US Treasury bonds are considered the safest, most liquid assets in the world. The infrastructure built around the dollar is also a massive barrier to entry for any would-be competitor. So you've got your grand vision, you've somehow aligned your economies, you've found a mountain of gold or something to back your new currency. Fantastic. Except now you run headfirst into the great wall of institutional and legal barriers. The global financial architecture is not exactly designed for easy plug-and-play with new, potentially disruptive currencies. It's built around the dollar. Think about the plumbing of international finance. Systems like SWIFT handle the messaging for trillions of dollars in transactions every day. Creating a viable alternative that gains global acceptance is a monumental task. Then there are the legal frameworks. Trillions of dollars in international contracts are typically governed by New York law or English law and denominated in US dollars. To shift to a new BRICS currency would mean rewriting countless legal agreements. The institutional inertia is immense. Now let's assume BRICS somehow manages to navigate the treacherous internal rapids of economic alignment, reserve adequacy, and geopolitical unity. They've got their shiny new currency ready to go. They step out onto the world stage, only to find a rather large, unamused Uncle Sam standing there. The United States has a vested interest in maintaining the dollar's global supremacy. The exorbitant privilege of having the world's primary reserve currency brings enormous economic and geopolitical advantages. This pressure isn't always overt. Diplomatic pressure, friendly advice to allies about the risks of adopting a new currency, warnings about financial stability, these can all be incredibly effective deterrents. The US has a vast network of alliances and economic partnerships, and it can leverage these to discourage moves away from the dollar. Think about it from the perspective of other countries. Do you want to be the first major economy to significantly shift your reserves or trade into a new BRICS currency, potentially angering the US? Most countries prefer to stick with the house that has a proven track record. The political headwinds are strong, and they are blowing firmly in favor of the status quo. So, if the grand unified BRICS currency is looking less like an imminent reality, does that mean the whole de-dollarization dream is dead? Well, not exactly. It just means BRICS countries are being a bit more pragmatic. Instead of a single currency, what we're seeing are more piecemeal strategies to reduce dollar exposure. One of the most significant is the increasing use of bilateral trade settlement in local currencies. So, India buys oil from Russia, and they agree to settle the payment in rupees or rubles, bypassing the dollar entirely. China and Brazil strike similar deals for their trade, using yuan and reais. Then there's the development of alternative financial messaging and payment systems. We mentioned China's CIPS and Russia's SPFS. BRICS nations are also strengthening their own regional financial institutions. Another area is the exploration of central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. These measures are less about creating a single dominant rival to the dollar, and more about creating a more multipolar financial system. So there you have it, the BRICS currency, an idea so ambitious it makes trying to teach a cat to play chess look like a weekend project. As we've seen, it's bogged down by a veritable smorgasbord of challenges. While the desire to create a more multipolar financial world is understandable, the practicalities of launching a successful common currency are daunting. The alternative paths they're pursuing, bilateral trade in local currencies, developing their own payment systems, seem far more pragmatic. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, please like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth analyses on global economic issues. We promise to make them as digestible as possible. Let us know in the comments what you think about the future of a BRICS currency. Will it ever see the light of day, or is it destined to remain a recurring agenda item at summits for eternity?